Hello again, another fixed blade knife. This is one that I'm quite excited about because it's made here in Scotland. Now, I think I tried to make videos about it before and I kept screwing it up, and I think I might have just gave up and all the rest, so I don't think I've got a video on this on the channel yet. But this is the Boar Knives Rustic Bushcraft knife. Boar Knives is basically just a single guy in his garage somewhere in Scotland, I can't remember where, making these by hand. I think the guy started off just as a hobbyist or something, and I think he lost his job doing metallurgy or something, working in a steel foundry or something, and then he started making knives, and now it's a full-time business. And I'm so glad to finally have a knife, a modern knife if you like, or just a knife in general actually, that's made here in Scotland. That's not a ski and do. Whenever you try to find a Scottish knife or a Scottish made knife, it's always a ski and do or a dirk or a dagger or something. It's always a kilt knife. It's never anything practical or usable. I suppose you could argue that ski and do's are practical and usable, whatever. I mean, something like this, a work knife if you like, a camp knife. So here it is now. It's not without its flaws, but it is a handmade knife. So I suppose you could say it's a custom knife if you like. Now, before I actually go into the knife, it does have a website, Boar Knives. This is my only knife that I have from this guy, and I paid about, I want to say £90 I think, which honestly is quite reasonable. He has knives from £55 upwards to around 300. So hopefully, if you do decide to check this guy out, you'll find a knife that you like that's within your budget. I mean, that's usually give or take what I like to. In fact, I usually spend a lot less than that on knives. But as this is handmade here in Scotland, very well, I think it's definitely worth the money and more. The sheath, that's another story. In fact, let's look at that first. So it is a leather sheath, and the leather does look to be of reasonably good quality. I do have a feeling it's repurposed leather. Now, the steel used to make this knife, is repurposed. Now, we'll just have a look at a few details on the leather first. Now, you can see possibly some scratches. I don't know if that's picking up. You can see some scratches there. That wasn't me, it literally came like that. Now, in terms of package, the guy just sent this knife in the sheath like this, wrapped in bubble wrap inside a Pringles tin, all taped up, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Reusing, that's not a problem. And there is a little bit of a safety concern. You can see there that the tip of the knife actually pokes out quite a bit. It doesn't seem to matter how I put the knife in, it just pokes out, which may or may not be problematic. I mean, if that's on your hip, there is a slight chance of that cutting you, especially if you're out in the woods doing something. Say you're in the Highlands, there's no one around, you really don't want to get cut. Other than that, I think it's quite well made. The rivets aren't exactly very pretty. Now, you can see where it's been hammered, which it's not a bad thing. I wouldn't say it's a good thing either. It looks really well stitched. Now, I'm not an expert on leather or anything like that, but to me it looks, well, it looks like it'll last, and it is welted as well, so that's good. In terms of the belt loop, it's just folded over, which is fine, and it's stitched. I think it might benefit from a rivet, but whatever. Other than that, I see absolutely no issues. So the knife itself, here it is. Now, the steel, it just says on his website, diamond saw blade. What that means, I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming that that is just the blade from a still saw or a petrol cut-off saw, whatever you want to use it, because it's obviously way too big to be a blade from an angle grinder, unless of course he means a table saw blade or a circular saw blade, but they're usually not diamond, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to assume that's from a still saw. Now, this one here has a custom fitted wooden handle from Boar Knives. It's elm, or as he describes it, plain elm. I'm not very familiar with elm, but it does look very nice. Now, just a little fact there, I think elm's actually becoming endangered because of Dutch elm disease. There's just a little free fact for you. I assume as well that the handle scales is held together with epoxy resin or 2-part epoxy. I have no idea, it's absolutely solid, there's pretty much no gaps, and we've also got two solid rivets, brass rivets, holding it together, which is absolutely fine, and a hollow brass tube at the back for a lanyard. Now the sizes are actually really good. It's a good sized bushcraft knife, I think. I like the feeling of the handle when I'm not using it. It does feel really comfortable, it's really nice and smooth, and I think it's finished with boiled linseed oil. It feels like boiled linseed oil and it smells like boiled linseed oil, so logic would dictate that's probably boiled linseed oil, which is, in my opinion anyway, a good choice, as this is a wooden tool handle, and that's what really you should be using for tool handles anyway. Axes and planes and whatever, any wooden tool handle, hammers, mallets, should, in my opinion, be treated with boiled linseed oil. That's the old fashioned way of doing it. And that basically means it's also user serviceable, so it's not a bad idea to occasionally give it a coat of boiled linseed oil. In fact, I believe the old way of doing it with axes and hammers is once a day for a week, once a week for a month, once a month for a year, and then yearly. Although I've not done that, I probably should, because if you do that, that should stop the wood from splitting. I have been doing it with my axes though, or at least one of them. So when I'm using it, I find it's a bit slippy. It feels a bit rounded, even though you can see it does have the shape to the hand there. Obviously it is a full tang, which is absolutely fine. That's actually what you want, of course. It does feel nice. It is it's good for whittling, nice and thick as well, and it's got a good point to it. Now let's just have a quick look at the measurements before I forget. I don't always do the measurements, I don't think it's strictly necessary. I'm not going to do the exact measurement. So the cutting edge is just a smidge over 10mm. The overall blade length is just over 10.5mm. The handle of the knife, I'm just going to call that 11.5, and the overall length of the knife is about 22cm. Did I say millimeters before? If I said millimeters, ignore that, I meant to say centimeters. And I'll just flip the ruler around if you care about the inches. I can't really be bothered dealing with it. Well, there you go, 8.5 inches. I'm not good with inches, obviously. So it is quite a nice knife. I think it's definitely worth £90. Even without the sheath, I think it'd be worth £90. This is a really well made knife. The guy obviously knows what he's doing. I think he's been in business for about 5 years, and well, I'm hoping to buy some more products from this guy in the future. He obviously doesn't know I'm making this video, like I've got nothing to do with him. I just really appreciate the fact that there's knives now made in Scotland that are not ski and do's. If you follow me on Instagram, which by the way, if you don't, the same name as the channel, Scotsman762, I've already posted several photos of this knife because I just love it. I've been using it here in the shed, doing some of my woodworking. I have said several times that I like to do woodworking. I've used this for a bit of whittling, that sort of thing. Now you should see there as well that it does have a mirror polished edge. This is going to be hard to show. Let's see. It came really well sharpened, and it had a slight mirror polish, although I sharpened it on my Japanese Waterstones, and I've got a much better mirror polish now on this side. It's much more of a mirror polish over this side, but either way it's looking quite good. I mean, I can see my reflection in it. I'll quickly try and see if I could show you there. This isn't quite doing it justice. It's better in person, honestly. Well, there you can kind of see, there you go, that's good. That didn't take me too long. Obviously, being a Scandinavian ground knife, it's a lot easier to sharpen. Overall, I think this is a really nice knife, and super bonus points that it's made here in Scotland. That's honestly my favourite thing about this. I'm aware that there are other excuse me. I'm aware that there are other Scottish knife makers. The thing is, a lot of them, they want you to give a deposit and then wait about 3 months or so, and they'll build the knife to your specifications. I don't want to do that. I just want a pre-made knife, and I just want to buy it because you can end up spending hundreds of pounds and all the rest. And you know, if I buy a knife, I want it as soon as possible. I don't really want to wait 3 months. Maybe that's something I'll do in the future, but I prefer this way of doing it, although I think it does take custom orders. So that's that done. I've been meaning to do this video for ages, so I'm sorry that's taken so long. I've not really been making many videos at all as of recent, just because I've been really busy. I've mostly been trying to deal with the whole airgun licensing thing, try to get ready for that. Now I'm still waiting for the medical check nonsense to be done with. I don't have a clue what's going on with that, and to be honest, I'm just trying to not think about it. So in the meantime, I've just sort of been here in my workshop practicing my woodworking. Just recently I've been practicing my mortise and tenon joint, so I think that's actually reasonably well cut. I mean, I'm doing this all by hand. I do have some machines in here, but I'm really interested in traditional woodworking. So if anyone's interested, by the way, that's the knife done. This is just what I've been up to as of recent for anyone that cares. Mortise and tenon, I'm actually quite proud of that. And I'm considering, maybe not, doing some hand tool videos or something like that, or setting kind of woodwork videos here. Not actual woodworking, but just some of the tools, because, well, I love woodworking. I love traditional woodworking planes. In fact, I just got this today. This is a vintage Record 044 plow plane, this is just lovely to have. I've had a wee shot of it earlier on, had a wee practice, and it works beautifully. And it came complete in the box, which is nice for its age. Now the cutters are pretty corroded, but they're still razor sharp. They still cut beautifully. I think this is actually unused, so I think I may or may not do things like that here on the channel. I have been posting some sort of woodwork stuff on Instagram, again, Scotsman762 if you care to follow, as well as I've been posting stuff about wildlife. And I've just ordered a record power wood lathe. Now, I don't know about any of you, but whenever I order something online, I like to look at reviews, I like to read the reviews, and I like to watch videos on YouTube. There's absolutely no videos on that lathe here on YouTube, so I don't know exactly what it is I'm getting. I'm just sort of hoping for the best, but I believe it has a really good lathe. I'm thinking I'm going to make a video on that. Now, my experience with wood turning is pretty limited. I have done a lot of it at high school and college. I've always really wanted to do wood turning, and I've actually got a knife project thought of when I get it. I'll mostly be doing spindle turning to begin with, but I would like to eventually move on to bolt turning. But you know those Mora classics with the red handles, well, you can get a blade blank for those, and I believe, in fact, this is a good example. This, basically, you know the red ones with the longer handles. Well, these handles are turned on a lathe, and well, there you go. There's a wee project. So I think what I'll do when I get the lathe is eventually I'll try and turn a handle for a knife like this. I think that'll be a fun little project. I've actually got quite a lot of yew wood. That's YEW, if you don't know. Yew wood sitting beside me, some logs. So that's actually one of my favourite woods. So maybe I'll try turning a handle for a blank of that knife, and the blank's only about £8, so I think that'll be a fun little project. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say, so thanks if you stayed this long. I'm sorry I've not uploaded in a while, as I said, but again, follow me on Instagram if you care, Scotsman762. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.